Professor Madhu Vinjamur is professor and head of Department of Chemical Engineering. His BTech in Chemical Engineering from IIT Kharagpur, MChem Eng from UICT or formerly known as UDCT, and PhD from Drexel University. His research interests are in renewable resources, supercritical fluids, drug delivery, food engineering, coatings, heat and mass transfer, and porous media. But what I know is that Professor Vinjamur has been carrying out experiments on enhancing learning of students in chemical engineering department. He has been inspired by literature on teaching and learning by Professor Felder, who has done a lot of pioneering work in this area. So he'll be sharing his experiences today with us about whatever he has been trying in our department with students. So I'll hand over to Madhu for next half an hour or so.
Thank you, Professor Patwardhan. I hope all of you can hear me. And we are getting close to lunchtime. It's 12:55, close to 12:55. So I'm not going to take a long time. What I thought I will do is I wanted to just tell the things that helped me in teaching. And I'm assuming that most of the participants here are new faculty. So some of the things that helped me over teaching, I thought I'll just share it with them. And while I was jotting down these points, it occurred to me that I should put them in context. So that's why I thought I just put my some experience here, some personal experience from when I joined, even though it's not directly relevant for all of you. So I joined this institute 18 years ago in 2003. So when I joined, like many faculty, our head of the department, at that time, Professor Khakkar, said, why don't you teach this course, CL 319? And then, luckily at that time, he said, why don't you go teach this course with another faculty member who's been doing this for a few times. So that helped me in planning the course. It gave me some discussions happened with the senior faculty members. So I just could plan the course contents. However, that first year and the following 1 or 2 years, for most part of the time, if I look back, what I was focusing was I was focusing what to teach and also to understand the concept myself in a very in a better way, so that I'll be ready to answer questions that the students may have. So like anyone, like the way things were taught to me, I would just go to the board, draw diagrams, derive equations, solve problems, and ask them, do you have any questions? If you don't know anything, please ask me. And so these are type of the things I did. And then, in other words, it was very teacher-centric. The focus for me as a teacher was on myself, whether I covered the portion correctly, whether I could finish the syllabus, whether I could finish what I wanted to do in that class, is what I was concerned about. It was more teacher-centric. And later I taught other course with a senior faculty member. Then, at the end of the class, sometimes he used to ask me, do you know where the pulse of the class is? No, I mean, that was new to me. I said, I don't know. And then in the discussions that happened, he said, what are the typical teaching evaluations? I said, it is about 80. He said, do you know how to cross 90? There are many who do it. Do you know? And I said, I don't know how to cross 90, but but these questions and initial experiences got me to thinking to check if there is anything better I can do. If there is anything out there that will help me do better. Then I went to the library. I just skimmed through. There are education journals which are out there. Articles are being published. So I went through these journals. I read them, but there weren't any practical suggestions that were coming out of it. Because all articles are good, but then these were very specific articles which are related to some experiment or some specific class or some specific topic. So one has to understand it, probably read that article maybe once or twice to understand how that is applicable to the course that you're teaching. So when I was doing it, thanks to the internet, I stumbled upon Professor Richard Felder. You can always search and Google Richard Felder. Then I stumbled upon his website, and he wrote, I would say, I don't know, I didn't count, but these are countless articles he wrote on teaching. And he's also a chemical engineer, by the way, at North Carolina University in the US. So when I started reading his articles, and these were eye-opener to me. I mean, they just shifted my focus from being teacher-centric to student-centric. And what became clear to me is that there is a large body of literature out there on teaching and learning. And there is documented research to show that these things work. Now, by the way, I also tried, before I read this, then I said to myself, I should do something different. And I tried doing different. I don't want to go into those details, but in one course, I just did something completely different from what I did the previous year. And students did not like it. I mean, the way I came to know that students did not like it is through my teaching evaluations. They just dropped. And Richard Felder also clearly says that when students, many people don't consider teaching evaluation seriously. They say, students don't give good ratings, or students give good rating to teachers who give better grades. But he clearly says that when student says that someone is an excellent teacher, he is an excellent teacher. When someone is an atrocious teacher, he or she is an atrocious teacher. So my teaching evaluations just fell. Then, even though I thought that I was doing something different and something that would benefit students, and it did not work out. Then I kept reading his articles, and then I came to know about few things, and I started implementing them, and it appeared to me that they worked. So what I would like to talk about today are see how much time I have. I'm not going to take too much time, but specifically, four things I wanted to talk about today. One is the first week or the first lecture that we do, which is very important. And the second and third are learning objectives and active learning, which I'm pretty sure is going to be somewhat repetitive, but I'll just show what I did with these in my courses. And the last one is about exams, how to do these exams and all that. I think so four things. One is learning the first day of the first lecture. The second and third are learning objectives and active learning, and the fourth one is exams. So the first day is very important because it sets the tone for the entire course. So I'm pretty sure most of you, many of you, or most of you may be doing this, but let me share my screen and show you what I typically do on the first day. So I hope you are able to see. Are you able to see this file, CL319 mass transfer 1?
Yes.
Okay.
You can make it slightly bigger. So, yeah.
So, one ineffective way of starting classes, which of course I did at the beginning of my career as a teacher here, is to come to the class and say that, my name is Madhu Vinjamur, I'm going to be your instructor for this course, CL319, and then start with the course contents. So that is a very ineffective way, it seems, according to the literature. So what I do is, like everyone, we just give the list of topics to be covered. Of course, all these topics, the bullet points, they don't make sense to the students right at the beginning, because all these topics are new to them. They have not been taught. But it's very important that we share this list of topics to be covered. And more importantly, these broad course objectives. So, so if you are not doing this, I think it's a good idea to include right at the beginning of the course what is it you expect the students to be able to do at the end of the course? And as with learning objectives, you should have a verb describing here like analyze, design, design. Of course, these are specific to my course, but it is very important that we spell these out. Even though the students may not understand what these are because this is right in the first day of lectures, but at least it will set the tone. They will keep this in mind, and when they study this as we go along, mid-semester exam and semester exams come, these are sometimes will ring in their mind that this is what they are supposed to do. And by the way, these are only the broad course objectives, and I give them more learning objectives as I go through the course. And of course, there are textbooks and which have to be given to the students, so they buy these or they have access to it through library or online or whatever. And in the last couple of semesters, because I had a lot of issues, I did not know how to teach. I would like to thank our ET department for conducting those initial sessions. Uh, I participated in those. I used some of the tips that they have given, but unfortunately, I'm not very clear whether I could do justice to these courses in the online semesters, because there is always this doubt in my mind whether I am able to reach to all students or whether they are able to all of them have enough bandwidth. So therefore, I made videos, I posted them. Not sure whether those videos are watched and so on and so forth. So many issues. So what I thought is good in the last couple of semesters is to just give them some tips of how to prepare themselves for online sessions. For example, I'll ask them to watch videos, come prepared to the online session with questions on the posted videos. Of course, many times this did not happen, but I think it is a good idea to do this. And I give them some suggestions to do this. Then I spell out what we do regarding homeworks and regarding exams. I think this is very important in my opinion. So are you going to give homeworks? Are they going to be graded, and how much they will count towards the final grade? I think this information right at the beginning of the course is very important. And similarly, regarding examinations, I tell them quizzes, mid-semester, end semester, what are the dates for the first quiz, second quiz, what happens if a student misses the first quiz. So these should be very clear to the students. So I'll tell them right at the beginning that I'm going to have a makeup quiz on 5th of November, and those students who missed this should provide a valid proof for absence. And students should have all this clear in their mind. It is then they can plan their studies or their whatever personal calendar around these events. So I thought this is very important for us to share with the students. And I'll also tell them that these quizzes, exams are going to be closed book and closed notes. Now, in your course, it could be open book or closed book or whichever way you are going to do this course. I think it's important right at the beginning of the course that we spell this out to the students so they know what is coming in their way as you go through the semester. And distribution for final grades, how each of these components are going to be account for their final grades. And I tell them, of course, I'm not included this year, but I tell them that I'm going to follow the relative grading, even though in the past I have followed absolute grading and I still like it. But I think many of my colleagues here across departments and students also don't like absolute grading. But I'm biased towards absolute grading. And lastly, I also say that they should have signed an honor code and must abide by it. And any violation of this will be reported to DUGC for action. So the most important point for showing this information to you is whatever you think is important for the students in this course, whether it is on class, attending classes, your attendance policy, homeworks, exams, makeup exams, how marks are going to be distributed, how their final grade is going to be decided based on their performance during the semester. It is clearly said that all these should be informed to the students right at the beginning of the course. And this will make things very, I would say, Otherwise, during the semester, we could run into some issues. For example, I ran into some issues regarding attendance. At one point of time, I made attendance compulsory, and therefore I wanted to enforce. I enforced the DX grade, and a student would come and say that I missed this quiz because I went for my sister's wedding. Someone would come and say, my grandfather was sick, and I had to go hometown, therefore I missed. So please consider this, and I just missed it by 2 classes. Why don't you consider? So at that point of time, if you consider one student's request and don't consider other students' request, it becomes difficult to handle those cases. Now, if you spell this out right at the beginning, it becomes easy for you and also for the students. And it is also clearly said in the literature that one of the motivations also comes from students' interest in the course. How fair it is, how the instructor, how clear or how reasonable the instructor is in making these policies right at the beginning also has an influence on the students' interest on teaching. So if you are teaching course, you have just started teaching courses here, I think it's a very good idea. Right at the beginning, you give an outline of the course and spell out these, and then one has to be reasonable. But what is reasonable, I don't think we want to discuss here. Maybe you can ask your senior colleagues if you have any questions regarding, for example, say exams or attendance policies, so on and so forth. So this is the first thing I wanted to say. And what I also do during the first week of first class or the second class is to tell them. So these are all the list of core courses we do in our department, and CL319 is the course that they are taking this semester. And I tell them what the previous courses, what happened in the previous courses, how that is related to what they are doing in this course, and what the courses that they are going to take after this semester. Their 6th, 7th, and 8th semesters, the courses that they take, and how those courses, the concepts in those courses are related to the course that they are going to do this semester. I think it is very important we do this because students should get an overview of the curriculum. Even though we teach all these courses separately, these courses are connected, and in real world problems, the concepts from across courses have to be used to solve those problems. So it is. I think it's a good teaching strategy to tell them upfront that this is where their all other courses are related. And the other thing I picked up from reading literature is to tell them, give them some simple examples which they can relate to in their day-to-day life. I'm not going to go through these examples. It's not important for you. But for example, if I'm teaching mass transfer, I tell them what happens inside lungs, how does a drug, for example, dissolves in some of juices, how naphtha in sublimates. These are some of the things they have related to how our pond in front of the guest house dries up. So I go through all these blood dialyzer, blood oxygenator, about mass transfer across leaves. And literature clearly says that students get motivated if we start from what they know. We tell them examples from their day-to-day life, what they already know, and then connect those to the concepts that they are going to learn in a particular course. So these are some of the things that I do. So I would just like to pause maybe for maybe a minute. If you have any comments or something you have to say on this, we can discuss that, or we'll move ahead.
Madhu, just request.
Yeah.
So you said you tried something which you don't want to go into those details, but maybe a little bit what you tried. So it's not important whether the feedback was good or bad, but what you tried. You could just say something about that.
Yeah. So what I tried was what is what is commonly known in education literature as inductive teaching. So I tried it. It was probably at that point of time, either my experience was limited, or the examples that I gave, or the way I conducted the class um, was not done properly. So for some reason, I think students did not like it.
Okay.
So I thought, Professor Patwardhan, what I thought, is over the years, what the things that help me in connecting with students, and the things that help me um, in probably doing a better job than I did earlier on these courses. I'll spell these out so that those who are teaching courses, um, uh, maybe for the first time, or maybe have taught only a few times, it will be helpful to them.
Okay.
So I thought these are some of the pointers. These are some of the things that helped me.
Okay.
That's why I wanted to share this with the group here.
Yeah.
So I think in the interest of time, I would probably skip I have prepared maybe some content I wanted to say on learning objectives and active learning, but I think you have heard this from many people, and don't want to go through this again. Even though I just wanted to share my slides on that, that's okay. So what I also wanted to tell is about exams. So again, all this is coming from the literature that I read, more by the papers that Professor Richard Felder wrote. So it's a very good idea to give study guides to students a week or two before exam. So if the mid-semester exam is going to be, let us say, September 11th, by end of August, I would prepare a study guide and give it to the students. And this study guide would have all the topics that they can expect questions from. Of course, all these topics would have been covered during the July and August months. And I would prepare these and give it to the students. And I would also conduct a review just a week before the mid-semester exam and end semester exams. By the way, I think all of us realize, or at least I have realized, that whatever we say, end of the day, grades are very important for students. Now, you might say you learn this course philosophically, whatever grade you may get, it may not be important, but that is not what runs in the minds of the students. Students are taking courses for grades. So it is important that that these exams are also conducted in a reasonable way, which will help students get better grades. So I do review what has been taught before midsem, a week before mid-semester exams, and a week before end semester exams. The other thing, what I picked up, is testing on what is taught. In other words, if in the class, for example, if I do problems which are simple, which are just plug and chug, you just have a formula, you just put some numbers there and get answers. But on the exams, I ask them tough questions. Or on the exams, I ask them some analytical questions, which requires them to think. It is not fair for us to do. So therefore, if we want to test on them, on their analytical skills, we should do such activities in the class, and also include such activities outside the class in their homeworks or assignments or projects, so on and so forth, and then give such questions on the exams. I think probably I did falter on this one, the third bullet here at the beginning. And and some of these perspectives of the students, I think are important for us to note. Now, students in general dislike lengthy problems, and they like that grading should be fair. Grading should be consistent, and we also should not give unusually tricky problems. Sometimes some faculty members I came across, they said these are all students coming from JE, they have cleared JE, so they should be able to answer these questions in a simple manner. But preparing for JE, the time that they spend for taking JE and the time that we have in a semester, in a course, learning new topics is completely different. So it's not a very good idea to give them, very tricky problems. Now, if we really want to give tricky problems, we better give such tricky problems in the class and in the homework, in the homeworks, which they get used to, and therefore nothing will come as a surprise. Nothing should be a big surprise in the exams, by the way. Exams. So this is again something I learned from my senior colleagues. At the beginning, I used to, these are all engineering courses that we teach, so we want them to solve numerical questions. So all questions will have something to calculate. My senior colleagues told me, and I think it's a very good thing to do, is to include subjective questions. And typically, even if it is a core course, I would typically have about 60-40, 60 numerical and 40% subjective questions. And when you give multi-part problems, you should make the part A independent from part B, independent from part C, so on and so forth. It helps both students and the instructor. The way it helps the student is if he or she gets the part A wrong, there is still some chance to get part B correct. If they are all connected, then part A is wrong, then B, C, marks are lost everywhere. And the way it helps the instructors is we don't need to check part A, what happened in part A when we are checking part B. It's important. And the other things that help me as a teacher. Now, all these points, in my opinion, are going to help us do well on the courses. One tip is to make these exams, prepare the exams a week or two before the exam date. And as instructors, we should take these exams ourselves and time it. I usually time every question and make sure that students have enough time on the exam to take these questions. So a benchmark, a typical rule of thumb is that students typically take about 2 to 3 times more than us. So if it is a mid-semester exam, if I finish in 1 hour or maybe 45 minutes, they will take about 2 hours to finish the exam. So if I'm taking about 1 hour or 1.5 hours, I will just try to change the questions in such a way that students will be able to finish this and finish this. So otherwise, students are not going to like this, and not going to like. Now you might say, I'm not giving exam for them to like or not like, but their liking or not liking, for example, a mid-semester exam is going to influence their interest for the remaining semester. So it's important that we set reasonable questions and that students can complete in reasonable amount of time. And taking these exams beforehand will also enable us to change any small mistakes that we have committed. And sometimes, this happened with me, and I'm assuming it happened with probably others, is there are some ambiguities in the question, and sometimes there is missing information. So all that can be reduced. And it is generally suggested that an average on the exam should be about 60 to 65%. Now, what if it is not? If it is 80%, that means the exam is probably very simple. And if it is less than about 60-65%, that means either the course was not taught well or the exam included very tough questions or something else happened. So on an average, an exam should have about 60 to 65%. And as we give exams, as we analyze the statistics, we can change the type of questions, the how tough the questions are, and ensure that this kind of average is a class gets for an exam. The last thing, crib sessions. Crib sessions can be very very tough on teachers. If you have a core course, 60 students, and sometimes large classes, more than 100 students, it takes about 3-4 hours. I thought I can finish it off in about half an hour, but it takes about 3-4 hours to go through all the questions that students have. So CRIP sessions are important. CRIP sessions have to be held. This is a norm that is given by the Senate. And to be transparent, I think CRIP sessions are important to be held. And after every exam, CRIP sessions should be held. But what I have done now is to tell the students that you please give your CRIPs in writing. For example, question number 3, if you think that it has not been graded correctly, please tell them, please write why you think you deserve more credit for this. And I ensure them that I will go through those scripts, I will answer them, and of course any changes will reflect in the marks. And doing this, you will reduce the number of scripts drastically. Even if they don't reduce, it will reduce your effort in conducting these these script sessions. So these are some things which I thought helped me a lot in conducting courses. So the first day of lectures, and then how you conduct the semester, doing these learning objectives, active learning, which of course in the interest of time, maybe I just show 1 or 2 things that I do in the class, and then exams. How to conduct exams. I think these are important things which I learned and which I thought I should share with the participants here.